you could tell that he was going to be a star. I didn't know him till he did the show. And then my friend was telling me, you got to book this guy, Kanye. I said, okay, I booked the guy.
Two of the most polarizing and unfiltered voices in entertainment. Standing on the same stage, the internet has not stopped talking since. One man walked from $50 million because the industry wanted his soul. The other lost billions in deals and bridges, yet he refused to go quiet. Together, Dave Chappelle and Kanye West represent something rare. They are the breed of artist who keep speaking even when it costs them everything. And at the heart of their stories, at the center of every rant-coded lyric and late-night tirade, one name keeps appearing. A titan who has dominated hip-hop for 30 years. An empire so vast that people cannot tell where the artist ends and the mogul begins. Jay-Z. Now, before you click away, thinking you know this, stay. Because this is not the version the blog sold you. This is not just clickbait. This is the full picture. The loyalty, the fractures, the public blow-ups, and the coded responses. The business moves, and the question that mainstream media refuses to face. Who is Jay-Z to the people who once called him Brother Stick? Around for a new perspective. You will see one of hip-hop's greatest relationships in a completely different light. The mentor and the student. To understand why Kanye West stood on a stage in Sacramento, California in November 2016 and begged Jay-Z to call him back, we have to go back. Back to before Kanye West became the global provocateur we know. Back when he was just a Chicago producer with a backpack, a dream, and a jaw wired shut. A young man with so much hunger that he dropped an entire album, The College Dropout, while the industry told him he was not meant for this. And Jay-Z. By 2004, he was already a legend and a mogul. He had retired at the top only to return, because the industry could not function without him. Rockefeller Records. Rockaware, a piece of the New Jersey Nets, and a catalog worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In 2005, Jay-Z told Time magazine that they all grew up as street guys who had to do what was needed to get by. Then there is Kanye, who he claimed never hustled a day in his life. He did not see how it could work. Think about that. Think about what it means for a young artist to be dismissed like that. Not by a critic, but by the man he idolized and worked so hard to impress. And yet, despite those odds, something remarkable happened. Kanye succeeded. The College Dropout was a masterpiece. Late registration followed. Graduation came next. By the late 2000s, Kanye West was not just a rapper. He was a cultural force, a visionary, and a man rewriting what hip-hop could sound and feel like. His relationship with Jay-Z looked from the outside like a genuine brotherhood. They were collaborating and socializing. Then came 2011. Watch the Throne. One of the most anticipated collaborative albums in hip-hop history. Two giants sharing a creative bond that fans dreamed of and industry insiders marveled at. Kanye even closed his third album, Graduation, with a tribute to Jay-Z in the song Big Brother, detailing their ups and downs and how he idolized Jay-Z despite their personal differences. So, here is the first question to sit with. If this relationship started with doubt and grew into something that looked like brotherhood, what does it take to destroy it? What turns a man who wrote Big Brother into someone standing on a stage begging for a phone call? Because something happened. Something cracked. The fractures were there, unseen at first. The first visible crack appeared slowly, quietly, the way real fractures always do. It was not a diss track. It was not a statement. It was something far more intimate and far more painful. Kanye told The Breakfast Club in 2018 he was hurt about them not coming to his wedding. He understands they had things going on. But if it is family, you are not going to miss a wedding. That wedding was Kanye and Kim Kardashian's 2014 ceremony. In Florence, Italy, one of the most publicized celebrity weddings in modern history. Beyonce and Jay-Z, the couple. Kanye, considered his closest friends in the industry, did not show up. To most people on the outside, this looked like a scheduling conflict, a private choice, something between adults that needed no public commentary. But to Kanye West, it meant something entirely different. It meant the hierarchy of the relationship was being made plain. That when the moment came to show up, not on a stage, not on a record, but in a church at a ceremony, the people he considered family chose not to. That wound never fully closed. Then came the 2016 MTV Video Music Awards. Kanye was nominated. Beyonce was nominated. And according to Kanye, standing in front of thousands of fans on the St. Pablo tour, something happened behind the scenes that changed everything. Beyonce, I was hurt because I heard that you said you would not perform unless you won Video of the Year over me and over Hotline Bling, he said. In my opinion, and do not go trying to diss Beyonce. She is great. He also claimed that the power couple had not reached out after Kim Kardashian was robbed in Paris. What makes that Sacramento night so historically significant is not just what Kanye said, it is the raw desperation underneath those words. This was not the bravado of a man burning bridges for sport. This was a man in pain speaking in the language of someone who felt genuinely abandoned. I have been sent here to give you all my truth, even at the risk of my own life, even at the risk of my own success. My own career, he told the crowd. Jay-Z, call me brother. You still are not calling me. Jay-Z, call me. Hi, brother. I know you have killers. Please do not send them at my head. Just call me. Talk to me like a man. Let those words sit with you for a moment. Please do not send them at my head. You do not say that about a stranger. You do not say that about an empathetic acquaintance. You say that about someone who you believe has real power, real reach, and who you fear has turned that power in your direction. A few weeks after that concert, Kanye West was hospitalized. Jay-Z responds on wax. Jay-Z did not respond the way most people respond to public conflict. He did not give an interview. He did not post on social media. He did not call a press conference. He made an album. In 2017, Jay-Z released 444, a deeply personal record that many critics called his most vulnerable work. And buried inside it, in a song called Kill Jay-Z, were lines that could only be directed at one person. You got hurt because this guy was talking about you on a stage. But what really hurt me? You cannot bring my kid or my wife into it, Jay-Z said in a podcast interview discussing the album. Kanye is my little brother. He has talked about me 100 times. He even made a song called Big Brother. We have gotten past bigger issues, but you brought my family into it. Now it is a problem. The lyrics themselves were surgical. I know people backstab you. I feel bad too. But this forget everybody attitude is not natural. You gave him $20 million without blinking. He gave you 20 minutes on stage. What the heck was he thinking? That $20 million reference is one that people glossed over, but should not have. There are claims that the $20 million Jay-Z fronted Kanye West was not a gift as Jay insinuated on his album, but rather part of a Live Nation deal with Kanye. Whether that money was an act of charity or a business arrangement matters enormously because it changes the entire frame of how one man held it over another. Jay-Z clarified in a podcast interview the $20 million thing should not have been said. Sometimes you go too far. That is the telling admission right there. Even Jay-Z, in his own words, acknowledged that using money as a weapon in a friendship is going too far. That the currency of loyalty cannot be measured in dollars without poisoning everything. But here is what this moment reveals that most people missed when Jay-Z chose to address the most painful chapter of his friendship with Kanye. Not with a phone call, not with a private conversation, but with a verse on a commercially released album. What does that tell you about how he actually operates? What does it say about where the relationship stood? Beneath all the public embraces and collaborative credits? That is the question Dave Chappelle has been asking in his own way, in his own language for years. Enter Dave Chappelle, the comedian who sees everything. Dave Chappelle is not a political analyst. He is not a journalist. He is not an investigative reporter. What he is arguably more than anyone working in American culture today is a translator. A man who takes the things that powerful people do not want, discussed, and finds a way to say them out loud in a room full of people who then have no choice but to think about them. If you have been following Dave Chappelle since he walked away from Chappelle's show and that legendary $50 million deal in 2005, you know his work carries one central theme: the cost of letting the industry define who you are. He has talked about it in his stand up and his interviews. He even broke it down during his famous sit down with James Lipton at the Actors Studio. He described being on set and watching a crew member laugh at one of his sketches. It made Chappelle feel for the first time like the joke was not on the industry, it was on him. Like he had become the very thing he was mocking. And who was it that Chappelle felt truly understood that instinct? Who was the artist he respected for operating by a different set of rules? For a long time, it was Kanye West. In May 2026, Dave Chappelle brought Kanye West on stage during a comedy show at the Comedy Store in West Hollywood. As West approached the mic, Chappelle joked, "Kanye West has lost more money than I have ever made." The audience gave West a standing ovation. That line is not just a joke. Think about what it actually communicates to the crowd. It frames Kanye's financial losses not as a failure, but as a monument. It is evidence of the price you pay for saying out loud what other people only dare to whisper. Chappelle, the man who walked away from $50 million, is calling out the man who lost $1 billion partnership because he refused to self censor. These are two artists who have chosen at an enormous personal cost to say exactly what they see. And what they both see at the center of this industry, at the top of this particular mountain, is Jay-Z, the power structure. What neither of them will fully put into words. Here is where the story gets messy, where you have to stop thinking about this as a celebrity beef and start seeing it as a study in institutional power. Jay-Z is not just a rapper. He has not been just a rapper for a very long time. He's the founder of Rock Nation, a massive entertainment company that manages artists, athletes, and events at the highest level. He co founded Tidal. He holds equity stakes across multiple industries. He has been valued at over $1 billion. He has a level of access to boardrooms, to political circles, and the infrastructure that governs what gets played on radio, what gets nominated for awards, and who gets a seat at which tables, that most people in the industry simply do not possess. Rock Nation's media arm has locked in promotional partnerships at the top tiers of sport and entertainment. Rock Nation's social justice arm has given Jay-Z direct proximity to police reform conversations, political figures, and institutional philanthropy. Now, when Kanye West, on stage in Sacramento, implied that radio was being paid to play certain tracks over others, he was direct. He spoke about programming directors, real people with families who cannot play what they want to play because they have been paid to loop the same thing over and over again. He was not speaking in abstract terms. He was pointing at a system, and the people who run that system are not invisible. They are very, very visible. Now, here is where Chappelle's lens becomes vital. Because Chappelle's entire career after Chappelle's show has been a deep meditation on what happens when black artists operate inside white owned corporate structures. His argument, made explicitly and implicitly across decades of stand up, is that the most dangerous moment for a black artist is not when they are struggling, it is when they are finally succeeding. Because success inside those structures carries an invisible price tag. You are expected to represent, expected to be manageable, expected to smile in the right rooms and keep quiet in the right moments. Dave Chappelle was not manageable. He left. Kanye West was not manageable. He was, depending on who you ask, either fired or liberated. Jay-Z, and this is the uncomfortable part, stayed, built, expanded, and became arguably the most powerful figure the industry has ever produced from within its own ranks. Does that make him a villain? No, absolutely not. But it makes him something more complicated than a hero. It makes him a man who mastered the system that both Chappelle and Kanye believe was designed to consume artists just like them. And when you are Kanye West, a man who spent his 20s writing songs about Big Brother and his 30s feeling abandoned, that mastery can look from the inside a lot like control. The Donda incident was loyalty tested in public. Fast forward to 2021. Kanye's album, Donda, named after his late mother, was one of the most tortured, most delayed, and most publicly dissected creative projects in recent memory. And sitting at the heart of it was one extraordinary fact: Jay-Z was on it. The two men, after years of friction, they found their way back into the studio. The track was Jail, and on it, Jay-Z delivered a verse that was easily one of the most loaded moments of his career. In a sense, deleted post. Kanye claimed that when he confronted Jay-Z about a specific line in that verse where Jay raps, "Hold up, Donda, I am with your baby when I touch back. Road," he demanded Jay. "Stop the red cap. Talk." He claimed Jay-Z told him to leave it in or take Jay off the track entirely. Think about that. Leave it in, or I am gone from a man appearing on an album about your dead mother. That is not the behavior of a younger brother toward an elder. That is not the stance of a collaborator here to serve a vision. That is the posture of someone who knows they have leverage and is not afraid to use it during a time of grief. on an album dedicated to a woman who is no longer here. Was it a misunderstanding? Maybe. Was it an arrogant moment in a long and messy relationship? Possibly. But the fact that Kanye felt strongly enough to vent to his millions of followers online shows exactly how deep that wound had become by then. And where was Dave Chappelle during all of this, watching, processing, and filing it away in the mental archive of a man who has spent 35 years studying what this industry does to the people it claims to love? By early 2025, the gloves were officially off. Whatever remaining civility existed between Kanye and Jay-Z had completely dissolved. The bond that produced Watch the Throne, that yielded those famous reunion hugs at birthday parties, that generated enough heat to power an era of hip hop history, was now producing something else entirely. In early 2025, Kanye made a cryptic post implying Beyonce uses dark magic to control her public image. He then referenced their twins in an ugly way. Kanye made disturbing comments about Jay-Z and Beyonce's children, claiming that Beyonce used medical intervention to conceive their twins, Rumi and Sir. West called Jay-Z a name and claimed the Rock Nation founder had pressured him to delete a previous post. In March 2025, Ye abruptly claimed that Jay-Z's younger children were disabled, only to apologize for those remarks the very next day. Jay-Z's mother-in-law Tina Knowles publicly condemned Ye's attacks. Now, and this is crucial, none of this behavior should be celebrated or excused by anyone. Bringing children into a conflict is wrong. It is wrong when Jay-Z references Kanye's son in a lyric. It is wrong when Kanye makes claims about Jay-Z's children online. The kids did not choose this. They are not weapons. They are not points on a scoreboard. Any real analysis of this feud has to hold that line. But here is what you cannot do. You cannot look at this level of nuclear emotional fallout from a man who once called Jay-Z his big brother and conclude that it is simply madness. You cannot write it off as instability without asking what actually produced that instability. What years of accumulated betrayal, loyalty violations, public humiliations, and private abandonments look like when they finally boil over in a person whose emotional architecture was never built for quiet suffering. Because Kanye West has never suffered quietly. That was always the deal. That was always who he was. The question is not why he explodes. The question is, what is he exploding about? Kanye accused Jay-Z of not standing by him during his contentious divorce with Kim Kardashian. They could have used their cultural position to not just watch the Kardashians run me over, he wrote. There it is. Right there. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a man saying you had power. I needed you to use it for me, and you chose not to. You chose the optics over the loyalty. You chose the comfortable seat over the difficult stand. That is what this is about. Underneath all the noise, all the chaos, and all the posts that make people cringe, that is the real wound. A man who believed in Big Brother only to feel like Big Brother chose the industry over him. Now, consider what Chappelle knows and why it matters. Dave Chappelle, as of 2026, has not made a formal public statement about Jay-Z in the way Kanye has. He has not gone on a social media tirade. He has not released a diss record. That is not how Chappelle operates. But Chappelle has for years been telling a story about The entertainment industry, that is fundamentally compatible with everything Kanye has been screaming. He tells it through stand up. He tells it through the weight of his own choices. He tells it through who he puts on stage beside him and what he says when he does. When Chappelle brought Kanye West on stage at the Comedy Store and joked that Kanye has lost more money than I have ever made, the audience erupted. That joke is a deep philosophical point. Chappelle is basically saying the losses are the point. The money that Kanye lost, that massive Adidas contract, the Gap deal, the Balenciaga fallout. This is not failure. It is proof of refusal. A refusal to stay quiet, to be managed, or to perform sanity for powerful people. Chappelle made that same choice back in 2005. He has lived with the fallout and the freedom ever since. When he looks at Kanye, he does not see a warning, he sees a mirror. In early 2025, before they made up, Kanye accused Chappelle of serving agendas instead of his own people. That accusation cut deep. It caused real damage to their long friendship. And yet, a few months later, the two men were back on stage together. Chappelle had the audience laughing at Kanye's losses, and Kanye was soaking up a standing ovation. What does that tell you? It shows two men who have decided that, despite their public fights, they are on the same side. They see themselves battling the same forces, carrying the same heavy price tag on their heads. Jay-Z is not in that fight. He won it by different means. He built the very infrastructure he was supposed to be fighting against, and he made himself essential to it. That is either the greatest triumph in the history of black entrepreneurship or a dark warning about the cost of assimilation. Maybe it is both at the same time. The mechanics of the industry are what they are pointing toward. Let us get specific here, because these accusations from Kanye and the jokes from Chappelle are not just personal, they are structural. When Kanye stood on that stage in Sacramento and claimed radio programmers were paid to play certain tracks, he was hitting at Payola. It is a practice with a long, well documented history in the American music industry. When he claimed that Google, Facebook, and the media lied to the public, he was pointing to consolidation. A tiny number of companies now control the information architecture of our entire world. And who benefits from that control? Who has positioned himself across streaming, sports, and media? Who has placed himself inside almost every major revenue stream in the entertainment business? Jay-Z has been brilliant. Nobody can take that away from him. By any business standard, he is one of the most successful self-made moguls in history. But brilliance inside a system is not the same as transcending it. Kanye West has insisted for years that those who appear to have escaped the system are often the most deeply embedded. The reach of Rock Nation spans management, sports, and entertainment across nearly every major sector. That is not a knock against him. It is just a fact. Facts, in the hands of someone who feels betrayed, become something else. They turn into rants, into coded lyrics, and social media spirals. Here is the real question at the center of this. Is it possible to build real power and stay a true friend? Can you be the man with all the connections and the leverage and still be the guy who shows up when it matters? The man who makes the phone call and puts his own status on the line for someone in need? According to Kanye West, the answer is no. Through 10 years of interviews and desperate public statements, his message has been consistent. He feels Jay-Z had the power to help, but chose not to. He chose the boardroom over the brotherhood. Dave Chappelle chose a different path. He walked away from the system rather than be used by it. That choice, made 20 years ago on a comedy set, is why he still has credibility with people like Kanye. It is why he can look at himself in the mirror. Now, consider the pattern of these constant reconciliations. It is fascinating how many times these relationships have reset. How often explosions are followed by warm embraces. How many times the diss tracks were quickly followed by studio collaborations. Jay-Z and Kanye hugged on camera at Diddy's 50th birthday party in 2019. By July 2021, Jay-Z was featured on the Donda album, signaling the rivalry was over. Then it fell apart again. Then there were new peace offerings. Then it broke once more. Apart again. The cycle repeats because the conditions never change. The power dynamic stays frozen. The wound never actually heals because you cannot mend something by pretending it never happened. You cannot fix a fracture with a hug. Those deep issues Kanye raised about loyalty, about money, about silence, when silence comes at a high price, about who actually shows up. Those things do not vanish because two men embrace at a birthday party. During a November 2017 interview, Jay-Z said, Kanye is my little brother. He has talked about me 100 times. We have moved past bigger things, but you brought my family into it. Now it is a problem. That tells you everything about where the asymmetry lies. Jay-Z sets the terms of the relationship. What is allowed, what crosses a line, what is forgivable, and what is not. He is the elder. He decides what constitutes going too far. And Kanye, the little brother, the student who dedicated songs to him, is perpetually negotiating for forgiveness on terms he did not set. That is not brotherhood. That is hierarchy with a friendly mask. The legacy question. This is where we bring it home. It circles back to the one central point. What does this mean for the long arc of hip hop? For black artists in America? For anyone who felt that the price of success inside the system was their own identity? Dave Chappelle and Kanye West are not the same person. They have real disagreements. They have publicly clashed, fractured their friendship, and then just days ago stood together on a stage in Los Angeles. Two survivors of the industry mechanisms standing arm in arm. What they share is not politics. What they share is not theology. It is the experience of having been inside the machine at the highest level and having seen something there that most people never witness. Something about how power operates in culture. Something about who gets to control the narrative. The difference between being celebrated and being owned. Jay-Z has built one of the greatest careers in American entertainment. He is a genius. He is a poet. He is a businessman of rare vision and even rarer discipline. He is also a man who has, by almost every account from those closest to him, operated with a ruthlessness about power that does not always square with the image of the loyal mentor his public persona projects. This is not an attack, it is a human truth. The same qualities that make someone exceptional, the strategic mind, the long term vision, the discipline to stay in the room when others walk out, those same qualities can make them hard to love, hard to trust, and hard to lean on when you are the one who needs support rather than the one everyone else relies on. Kanye West needed Jay-Z to be a brother. Jay-Z in those critical moments chose to be a CEO. And Dave Chappelle watching from the outside, making jokes that cut like surgery. Putting Kanye West on stage to tell the world that losing money is not the same as losing yourself. Dave Chappelle has been saying for years in his own way that the most dangerous people in this industry are not the ones failing. They are the ones who have won so completely that they no longer remember what losing actually cost them. You have heard it all now: the origin, the brotherhood, the fractures, the rants and the coded verses, the apologies and the relapses, the billion-dollar deals and the massive losses, the calls that never came, the wedding that nobody attended, the album made for a dead mother that became a bargaining chip. The question is yours, because this is not just about three men. It is about what this industry demands from the people it chooses. It is about whether the price of sustained success is always a piece of your soul, and whether those who refuse to pay are visionaries or casualties. Was Jay-Z's silence in Kanye's darkest moments a calculated move or genuine concern? Does Dave Chappelle see in Kanye the reflection of a man who made the same choice he made, just messier and with much higher stakes? What does it say about an industry when the people who speak the truth are labeled unstable, while those who stay quiet and hoard power are called wise? Leave your thoughts below, because this conversation does not end here. It has barely started. If this made you think, if it made you question what you thought you knew about these three men, about this industry, about what loyalty looks like at the top, share it, hit subscribe, because we are going to keep pulling these threads until we see what is underneath the story of Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Dave Chappelle are still making headlines, and we will be right here for whatever happens next.